I think it's a good time to start talking about our Week 2 quarterback prospect range for the 2026 NFL Draft. And kicking it off in the honorable mention section, we have Rocco Becht again, who Rocco Becht, I think so far this season, has looked better in the 2 games against Kansas State and Iowa in particular, because he went 19 of 20 with like 4 touchdowns against South Dakota. That's not the game we're focusing on here. If you look at the 2 games against Kansas State and Iowa, his statistics are not like amazing. I mean, against Iowa, he went 18 of 27, 134 and a touchdown. Didn't have an interception, but 18 of 27 for 134 and a touchdown is not necessarily something you look at and go like, man, that is one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football right there. But it's a number that you can look at and go, oh, yeah, he might not be great, but he's still making plays when you need him to make plays. And I thought he was played better than that. I thought he looked better and more poised than 18 of 27 for 134. But on the season, 595 yards, 6 touchdowns. Again, 4 of those were against South Dakota, or three of those were against Texas. He threw 2 against Kansas State. And yeah, he's looked good. He's making good throws. He's making good decisions. Brandon McManus just doinked it off the upright for the Packers before halftime. It's 14-3 at the half in the Packers-Commanders game. But yeah, Rocco Becht, good quarterback. He comes in the honorable mention. Taylor Green, just got done talking about him. 17 for 26, 239, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 151 on your ground, and a touchdown there as well. The big thing with Taylor Green going into this year was, can he control what he can control and not try not to play too erratic? Because we talked about the play against Mississippi State all the time, where he goes back like 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage before making a play down the field. You cannot afford to do that against every team in college football. You can afford to do that against a team like Mississippi State last season, but like rein it in a little bit. There's times he tries to do a little too much, and you saw that with some of the interceptions in this game. So yeah, he's got 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions up to this point in the season. He has 192 yards on the ground as well. Got all the physical tools to be a top quarterback in this draft class. It's just a matter of, can he rein it in, I guess. And if he does that, then there's no reason why at some point in time he could not rank somewhere in these top 10 rankings. And then next on this list, we have Eli Holstein from Pitt. 21 for 28, 304 through the air, 4 touchdowns and a pick with 36 yards on the ground. He gives 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions to this point on the season. And the big thing for Eli Holstein, staying healthy and staying consistent. Those are the 2 main factors that we've seen from Eli Holstein so far this season. That's what we need from him. And he's looked good. He's got all the physical traits to be a very good quarterback at the next level. He's got the physical traits to be one of the best quarterbacks in this draft class. It's just a matter of staying consistent. In the 2 weeks, he played Duquesne and Central Michigan, so there's nothing like overwhelming that he's going to be pushing himself in there, but I would not be shocked at all if he at some point he wound up in the top 10. Next on here is Nico Iamaleava from UCLA. Not Tennessee like last week. UCLA, again, we talk about guys with physical talent. Nico Iamaleava is one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks. He's very slim. He's not like the biggest dude in the world. Yes, he's 6'6", but he's very slim. But there's still moments where you look at him and like, why are you making that play? Like, he threw the interception late, basically sealing the game in the loss against UNLV. UCLA lost the game 30-23 in the battle of University State City schools. Because remember, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, University of California, Los Angeles. Like, it's fun. It's a fun rivalry game. It's not really a rivalry game, but he's a guy that's like, it's right there. It's just right there. But UCLA, I don't think is the place for him to spread his wings, I guess. If he was going to do that, you would think it was going to be at a place like Tennessee that's arguably the most quarterback-friendly team in all of college football. But he couldn't get it done there either. So I'm intrigued to see how the rest of the season goes, because starting off the season 0-2, and yes, it was against a good UNLV team and against a good Utah team, but you need to see some. I need to see something, because everybody talked about it last year, and everybody was excited to see what he could do, because Josh Heupel had a 5-star quarterback coming in. We saw what he could do with Hendon Hooker. We saw what he could do with Joe Milton. Now is about time that he has a real talent at the position. And Nico just wasn't consistent enough in that facet. And I want to see that this year, because talent-wise, he should be in the top 10. Out of all of these guys outside of the top 10, he's the guy you look at and go, you should be up in the top 5, just based off talent. But it's just not clicking. And I don't know what it will take. For that, I don't think he's a bad quarterback, which is why he's still in the honorable mention section, but he's too good to be down here, just off of talent. And it's just a shame that he's down here. And then we got Dante Moore, obviously, from Oregon, 16-21, 266, 3 touchdowns. Also had 11 yards on the ground, a 69-3 win against Oklahoma State. He made some crazy throws throughout this game. Dante Moore is damn talented. I mean, again, we talk about former 5-star quarterbacks, and learning under a guy like Dylan Gabriel I would imagine, only helped enhance what he could do on the opposite side of the ball. Like, he's so damn talented. And he put on a show against Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State's a team that you look at and go, oh yeah, they can't be as bad as what they were last year. They hit the transfer portal really hard. So there's no way they're going to be as bad as what they were last year. They went 3-9. They went 0-9 in conference play. Like, there was no way they're going to be that bad. And in this game against Oregon, I had no fear that Oklahoma State was going to upset the Oregon Ducks. I had no fear about that. But what I also am saying, I did not expect them to win 69-3. I did not expect them to beat Oklahoma State by more and more convincingly than they did against Montana State in week 1. That's where it surprised me. That's where I was caught a little bit off guard. But those are your honorable mentions for this week's quarterback prospect rankings. And I'm not going to lie, going into the top 10, numbers 7 through 10, you could probably flip in a few different directions, and I would be kind of fine with it, because this weekend was just, it was a really fun weekend. I'll just put it like that. But number 10, and I might change it by the time the blog post is actually up, but number 10 at this point in time, I have Sam Leavitt. And Sam Leavitt was at number 7 last week. It had been number 7 in the preseason, and he put on a good show against Northern Arizona, but he made a bad interception. He sometimes tries to do a little too much, like the interception he threw against Northern Arizona. He rolls out to his left, is falling backwards, and kind of just tosses it up, and it's an easy interception, basically return for a punt. He had something similar in this game as well, maybe not rolling out to the left and throwing off his back foot or anything, but it was just a bad play. And you look at it and go, this dude, where was this last year? You were not doing this last year. Like, he steps up in the pocket, nothing's there, rolls out, and then a defender starts going in on him, jumps in his face, and he lobs it down the field. He throws it. There's 2 receivers standing at the 25, or around the 25. There's another receiver standing around the 8-yard line, and then he throws it into the defender that's standing alone at the 15, who just, again, could have caught it like a punt. Like, we didn't see that type of stuff from him last year. We didn't see that from him at all. He was a guy that rarely turned the ball over. Rarely put the ball in harm's way. And I think this year, with Cam Scadaboo being gone, it seems like, especially in this game against Mississippi State, which last week in the blog post and in the podcast and in the video talked about how I wouldn't be shocked if Mississippi State pulled off some sort of upset in that game. It would not shock me. I'm not going to sit here and go like, oh, I am expecting Mississippi State to win this game. But going on the road in the SEC, especially at night, it didn't surprise me. Even though Mississippi State and Arizona State had 2 completely different seasons last year, where Arizona State went to the college football playoff, they won 11 games, all that stuff. Mississippi State won 2 or 3 games in the SEC and basically had to rebuild their program from scratch. And Blake Shapen being back at quarterback, I think, is a big thing for them to get him back because he was hurt last year. Van Buren transferred to LSU. He's the backup down there, the Nussmeier. He could be fun to watch next year for them. But I'm not surprised that this happened. And you look at some of the plays that Leavitt was making. There was one time on 3rd down, he does a good job at getting outside the pocket. Like, the pocket collapses around him, and he rolls out to the left, and he has a receiver at the 1st down marker that he just doesn't throw to. And he tries to make a play with his legs, and he doesn't get it. He comes up a yard short. And yes, he is able to make those types of plays, but why is he not taking the easy throw? Why is it, I've got to get out of the pocket before anything else happens? He's got a really good arm. There was a play in the second quarter right before halftime where he steps up to the pocket, slightly rolling, he just fires it between 2 defenders from Jordan Tyson. Like, he's got so much damn talent. It's just like, dude, sometimes it looks like you're making it a little bit more complicated than what needs to. And I don't know if that's not necessarily the best way to word that, but like, why are you escaping the pocket instantly? Like, it's not even close to a millisecond, and you're just rolling out of the pocket. Like, we saw that last week against Northern Arizona, but you could make those types of plays against a team like Northern Arizona. You can't afford to do that against a Power 4 conference team. I don't care if it's Mississippi State. You can't do that. And he had another interception late in the game which was ultimately the game sealer, and he just threw it behind Jordan Tyson. And I've watched the clip probably 1,000 times. I don't know how the ball leaves his hand so damn weird. It doesn't even look real. It just floats up there. It's like Quinn Ewers' interception against Ohio State. Like, I don't know what the thought process was on trying that throw. And it's not like some crazy throw. It's just like a little lob. Like he soft tossed it to the defender. It's frustrating, but he's so talented. And I'm not going to sit here and go like, oh, the season's a wash for him. Not at all. Because I think there's still time for him to rectify it. But, 10 for 22, 82 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Like, that's not what we're used to seeing from Sam Leavitt. And I talked about it before the season started. How would he be able to react to the newfound attention that Arizona State and himself are getting up to this point? How are you going to react to that? And right now, up to this point in the year, he has not looked great. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions to his name. All 3 interceptions are brutal. Like, they're not good interceptions. They're not something that you could look at a receiver and go like, oh, the receiver did this wrong, or XYZ, or the offensive line did this. They're just bad throws. They're bad decisions, which is, again, something he never did last year. So I just need to get him to rein it back in a little bit and just go back to the Sam Leavitt we saw last year, because this version is not it. He's so talented. That's what's so frustrating about it. So frustrating. But number 9, and I flip back and forth between number 8 and number 9 a little bit, and number 10. Sam Leavitt, number 9 and number 8, I've flipped back and forth. Not really 8, but number 9, I've flipped back and forth. I have Carson Beck at 9, which is dropping him down a spot, and he doesn't deserve to be dropped down a spot. And it's nothing really anything that he's done. It's just, I think the 2 guys that I moved up just played really damn good this past weekend and made some plays that were just ridiculous. And it's not Carson Beck's fault that he played Bethune-Cookman. That's not his fault. And he looked good. He went 22 of 24. He was on the field for 5 drives. Miami scored touchdowns at all 5 drives. Like, there's nothing Beck did wrong in this game in the slightest. Like, he was as close to perfect as you could possibly get. And he makes some really good throws. And again, like we talked about before, I just like the fact that he's playing with confidence and actually looks like he's enjoying himself. Like, he threw a touchdown early in the first quarter to DJ Williams on their first drive of the game. It's a beautiful throw. Down the middle of the field. Defender on CJ Williams' back, or CJ Daniels' back, sorry. Off Daniels' back, and he fits it in there for a beautiful touchdown throw. Beautiful touchdown throw. And then you look at his throw later in the game. You look at the second quarter with Tony coming across the middle of the field. He's rolling slightly to his right, is able to flip back and throw it to Tony, who does a great job as well at coming back to the ball. Like, you talk about receivers waiting for the ball to come to them. That sometimes leads to interceptions. Tony does a very good job at going back towards the ball to cut down the angle from the defender. And he's a freshman. And he made some great plays against Notre Dame last weekend, and that's a very smart play from him. And then him and Daniels would connect again on a beautifully thrown fade ball from 5 yards out. And if you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of fade balls, but Beck's playing with confidence. Beck is playing like the Carson Beck that we saw 2 years ago. He's not playing like the Carson Beck that we saw last year, who was so low on confidence they could barely make a crossing route throw. Like, that's not the Beck we're seeing this year. We're seeing a confident Beck stepping into throws, making deep throws, throwing in tight windows. That's what we need to see from him for the rest of the season. And he could be right back up there as one of the better quarterbacks in this class. And again, him dropping down is nothing to do with how he played. Nothing to do with it. I just think Sawyer Robertson, who comes in at number 8, made some crazy plays against SMU this past week. We talked about it before. SMU last year ranked 2nd in the ACC in regards to completion percentage given up, and ranked 2nd in the ACC in regards to interceptions gobbled up, I guess you could say. And Sawyer Robertson, we talked about last week against Auburn. They didn't give up more than 297 yards to one quarterback all of last season. So nobody threw for over 300 yards against Auburn. And yet, Sawyer Robertson threw for over 400 yards against them with 3 touchdowns, sorry. This weekend against SMU, on the road, 440 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. And he just made so many confident throws that you can look at him and go, you know what? I believe you'll make every single throw. If I tell you to make this throw, I believe you'll make it. I believe you make it. And Baylor does run a couple like bubble screens. They run some shorter routes as well. But when they ask Robertson to go out of the pot or step up in the pocket and throw strikes down the field, he is way comfortable in doing so. He is so confident in how he throws the football. And he's got a little bit of a longer windup. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's ridiculously slow or anything, but it's a little longer. But when he gets the zip on the follow through, it comes out so hot. You look at some of the touchdowns that he had. And listen, you look at the fade ball that he had. There was one throw, and on the fade ball, I would like to add this. If you go watch the clip on the LoganBlackmanShow.com, SMU is playing a single high safety. They're playing single high safety. Baylor's got 2 receivers out to both sides. So you got 4 receivers wide, 2 to both sides. He does an excellent job at looking off the safety to the right side of the field, because that's your job there. If you know your receiver's running a fade route and he's one-on-one in coverage and he beats him off the line, you have to look that defender off. You have to look at the matchup that you have, which receivers you trust the most, or which matchup's the most favorable. You point that out, and wherever they're at, tell that safety to go to the opposite direction, and he does exactly that. Focusing to the right to kick things off, flips back to the left, gives him an easy passing touchdown. Like, that's just plays you have to work with and know what to do in those situations. Any later in the game, you're playing single high safety again. You see press man. Or not press man, but you see press at the top of the field. It wasn't man, they were playing zone, but you see the press coverage there, and the receiver gets behind him, but the safety's playing over top. But you got 2 receivers to the near side of the field, or 3 receivers, to the near side of the field, 3 defenders in the area. Single high safety. He's going to creep over to the single receiver. That's just naturally what he's going to do. So instead of looking him off, you've got to put that ball in a window between the corner and the safety before the safety makes a play on it. It's not going to be like the prettiest throw stylistically. It's not going to be a perfect spiral or anything, a leader receiver like drop it right in the bucket or anything. He throws it right on him, and not only that, Cameron's able to make said safety miss and then make the corner miss on the tackle and backpedals pretty much into the end zone for the score. That's a big-time play from a quarterback. And you go, like, that's standard stuff, but even on the fade ball that he had later in the game, like, it's just so effortless. So effortless. And I don't think I'm seeing a lot of Sawyer Robertson get talked about. And they were down 38-24 in the fourth quarter. He gets 2 touchdown drives and caps it off with a beautifully thrown slant route in between 4 SMU defenders for a touchdown. 21-yard touchdown with like 30 seconds left in the game. And they're going to win in overtime. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to see from your quarterback. And Robertson can make so many different throws. It's crazy. It's not just like I saw in the comments of the first video or not in my video, but from the highlight clips of the few highlight clips I saw of the first game against Auburn. I was blanking on who they were playing. There's like talking about yak merchants, and Baylor does a very good job at creating yards after the catch. They are very good at doing that. And they do again. In that game against Auburn, did run a good amount of bubble screens. But in this game against SMU, he's firing it down the field, absolutely zipping it in there to his receivers, making strong, confident throws, looking off defenders, stuff you want from a high-level quarterback, and that's why he comes at number 8. And number 7 is John Mateer from Oklahoma. Arguably, at this point in time, the favorite for the Heisman Trophy. Arguably. I don't know who else you would really consider up to this point in time. Maybe you're looking at Nussmeier. You're looking at, I don't know who else you want to really consider at this point. My mind's kind of blanked right now, but John Mateer, he's just so much fun. We said that before the season started. Like, John Mateer is the most fun quarterback you'll ever watch. He just is. We said that when he was at Washington State. John Mateer will try things that no other quarterback will even dare to think about, let alone actually do it. And we saw that so many different times at Washington State. He has such a quick release. He's got such a strong arm and a confidence that not a lot of other quarterbacks in this draft class really have. A confidence that kind of rivals that of Baker Mayfield's when he was at Oklahoma. I'm not sitting here saying they're the exact same player, but just that level of confidence to know or to think, I can make every single throw on that field. There's not one throw on here that I can make or that I won't make. And yes, that sometimes comes with, some dangers there, because there's going to be a throw that he thinks he can make that he probably can't, and it might lead to an interception or a broken up pass or something like that. A receiver gets his head taken off. Like, there's other things that factor in there, but he's going to make that throw every single time. It doesn't matter if he got picked off on that 3 times before. Guess what? He's going to do it again, and he's going to make it, and he's going to he's going to make big plays on the ground as well. He's a bigger bodied dude. I'm not saying you're going like he's Josh Allen size or anything. He's only 6'1", but he's a barrel chested dude, about 6'1", about 225. He carried the ball 19 times in this game. And you might look at that and go, that's a little too much for my quarterback, but he's not taking like massive hits or anything. And I think that's an important thing to count on as well. Like Jaden Daniels, and I'm bringing this up because I'm watching the game. He, at LSU, people like to talk about, oh, he's so skinny. But he took 2 cartoonish hits last season, or the past 2 years at LSU that I can think of off the top of my head that were really funny. There's probably about 4 or 5 in there, but most of the time he does a very good job at getting down and avoiding big hits. And I think if you're a mobile quarterback, it's not just that you're able to run, it's how you're able to be a smart runner and avoid those big hits and not take unnecessary contact, because you're one of the best quarterbacks in college football. They want you on the field naturally. That's just what they want. And if you're taking those big hits and getting hurt, guess what? You might not be playing the next game because you're going to be out injured. And they always say, the best ability is availability. And John Mateer is available. And I think learning under Cam Ward at Washington State the year before, I think was massive for him because Cam Ward is awesome. Cam Ward is another guy who thinks he can make every single throw on the football field. You look at the games last year against Duke and Cal where he's throwing across his body and being interceptions. That's not because he's stupid. It's because he thinks he can make that throw. And yes, it's a stupid decision, but he has the confidence to try and make that. And John Mateer comes from a similar-ish mold in that facet that he thinks he can make that. And against Michigan, who's got a good defense. Michigan's not necessarily the greatest on offense. Justin Hayes is a good player. Bryce Underwood's really raw up to this point. But John Mateer, against a good Michigan defense, made a lot of very strong throws and picked up some good gains on the ground as well using his legs. I mean, you look at the first drive of the game on 3rd down. He's able to hit Kanik down the middle of the field, who makes a fantastic catch. Who makes a fantastic catch in the middle of the field, one-handed catch in between a few Michigan defenders, but John Mateer steps up with a linebacker in the area, just floats it right over the top of the linebacker for a nice little gain there. And you look at later in the game, running back gets motion out of the pocket, gets 2 or 3 defenders to jump off sides, and delivers an absolute strike down the sideline between the two defenders. We got the corner and the safety in the area, fits it in the window like we talked about with Robertson before, fitting in the window. Another thing that's important with quarterbacks is what we talk about with Sam Levitt, trying to get out of the pocket too early. If there's a defender barreling down on you, are you going to tuck it and run it, try to get around him, or are you going to stand there knowing you're going to take a massive hit, but still deliver a strike? And at Washington State, we would see him more so roll out and try to make a play on that. But here, just stands tall, delivers an absolute strike, and the receiver takes a nice little shot out of bounds as well. But when I say nice little shot, it's not like he got drilled or anything, but just a nice little push out of bounds. And he did have an interception in this game. Pass sailed on him. Just absolutely missed him. There's nothing really more to say about that. Just missed him. Sailed it high. And it's high and wide. Later in the game, though, 3rd quarter, Michigan defender comes untouched off the edge. Running back misses him. No one picks him up. Mateer gets out of that, rolls out to the right, and delivers a dot down the sideline. We'll get them all the way down to the 5-yard. And he would enter, I believe this was the drive he ended up punching into the end zone himself. But those kind of throws. And then his athleticism that we talked about before. Later in the game, in the 4th quarter, able to make something out of nothing. He's very good at doing that. And not only that, with the running play that he had at the end of the game, he also stayed in bounds. Like, he not only was able to pick up a good 15 yards to the ground, he was able to stay in bounds, dive in bounds to keep the clock moving and stuff like that. He's such a talented quarterback. Good arm, good athleticism, and he's making smart throws. He's making good plays. And yes, he had the interception last week against Illinois State. But again, like we talked about, that throw, you could, if you really wanted to, buckle it down to the fact that, hey, maybe the receiver cut too far back inside when he was supposed to keep that more outside, and John Mateer threw it off his left shoulder, which was the outside, and that's where he should have been. But we'll never know. We will never really know. But the throw against Michigan that he missed, that's just a bad throw. Simple as that, just a bad throw. But he can make so many different throws in the football field, and again, I think at this point in time, he's probably the Heisman Trophy favorite. Which is that wouldn't have been a crazy thing to people to say at the beginning of the season. It was the big thing with John Mateer was just seeing if he could do it at Oklahoma. Because it was one thing doing it at Washington State. It was one thing doing it there in a Pac-12 conference that only has one other team in Oregon State, and you play one top 25 team all season, it's Boise State. Like, it's completely different doing it against that schedule than doing it against Oklahoma. And I know Oklahoma's only played Illinois State and Michigan, but the eyeballs that are on you at Oklahoma, that can sometimes be a little too much for people. And they can fold. It doesn't matter who they're playing. Like, we've seen quarterbacks come into these big schools from smaller schools and fail just because you put up good numbers at one place doesn't mean you're going to do it in the next place, i.e. what we talked about earlier with Gronowski. But yeah, John Mateer comes in at number 7, 4 touchdowns on the season, does have 2 interceptions, but also has 96 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns there as well. Then we got Cade Klubnik coming in at number 6. This game was weird. This game was so odd. I was not surprised that there was a lull from Clemson. You have such an emotional, hard-fought, tough game against LSU week 1. You lost the game. A draining game. So there's going to be a little bit of a lull period in week 2, but I didn't think it'd be this type of lull period where we're seeing Clemson down 16-3 at halftime. I really did not see that happening. I didn't see Klubnik. His interception, it's unfortunate. Ball got batted at the line of scrimmage, lands right in the arms of the defender. He returns it 4 yards or whatever for a touchdown. Like it's just unfortunate. It's just an unfortunate situation that happened. And in the game, 19-24, 196, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, negative 4 yards rushing on the game as well. But the interception's what most people look at because it's just an unfortunate play. It just got batted. That's simple as that. It just got batted at line of scrimmage, landed in the arms of the defender. But he made some good throws throughout the course of the game. We talked about window shot. He had one of those earlier in the game or late in the second quarter. It does help that the safety fell over, but the idea of the whole shot was still there. So we will count it. We have to. But he makes strong throws to the sideline. We've talked about it 1,000 times that he's the most accurate quarterback in the draft class, or just in college football in general, in regards to throwing the ball outside of the numbers. He had a really nice touchdown pass in there where he in there as well to Wesco, where he kind of just threw it to an area because there were so many defenders in his face by the time he let the ball off that he's just going to a spot or throwing his receiver open, I guess you could say. And Wesco beat his defender off the line, so it wasn't like that hard, but you're getting pushed back. You still got to try and make an accurate throw. You got to try and not short arm this while also not leading him too far so he doesn't make the catch. I just think it's a good throw. Klubnik, I don't think was brutal in this game against Troy, but again, I just don't think Clemson would be as wishy-washy in this game. Lull, fine, but losing in this game at any period, minus like 3-0 or something, I don't want to say the word unacceptable, but it feels weird. And Klubnik on the season, 2 touchdowns. Those were his first 2 touchdowns of the game. One of them was another short pass, if I remember correctly. Or no, it was a, I'm blanking on the touchdown. His first touchdown, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm blanking. He did almost have another touchdown to Tristan Smith, but it was ruled a touchdown, but his knee was down on the play, so they ended up taking it off the board. What was his other touchdown? I'm blanking on his other touchdown right now, but he had 2 in the game. And I don't think he was that bad. I just don't think he was that great either, and I had to drop him down 1 spot because I think Fernando Mendoza for Indiana, I think he did enough to warrant moving up a spot. And I know Troy and Kennesaw State are different teams, but it's not like Kennesaw State's not a very good football team. They're not. But they're Clemson and Indiana are also different teams. So there's method of the madness, I guess you could say. That doesn't make any sense. Whatever. But Fernando Mendoza, 245, 4 tuds in this game. And we talked about it before with Indiana has kind of a thing right now where they're going for it a lot, and it's not really clicking as well as what they would probably hope it would. And whether it be the run game or they're trying to hit screen passes or something, they're just not working. But Mendoza, before the season started, we talked about how the ball explodes out of his hand. And you could see that prime example early in the first quarter. His receiver runs a hitch. There's 2 defenders in the area. And he throws a piss missile over the top of the first defender. You could say it's bad defending from the first defender or whatever. But he puts it in a spot where only E.J. Williams can make a play. And this is where I had E.J. Williams before. I talked about C.J. Daniels before, and I said E.J. Williams. This is where I was talking about E.J. Williams. But those kind of plays where you place a ball only where your receiver can get it. If you see a matchup that you like, but they're covered tightly, just throw the piss out of the ball and just say, hey, go get it, because I believe in you. I know you can go make this play. Go and make the play. And he does that. He just makes a lot of very good throws. Again, the ball just explodes out of his hand. He threw it again, I think, to Surratt in the corner. Like, the ball just exits his hand with such high velocity that it's just so impressive. Like, His zip to Surratt again. Or not, yeah, it was Surratt again. This second touchdown, right? Oh, yeah, it was to Surratt. He just throws the piss out of it. And Surratt's open, yes. But I'm more or less looking at it just to show you how freaking hard he throws and how much zip he gets on it and how accurate he is. It's nothing to look at and go like, oh man, he put this in a spot like this. This is an insane like technical throw or something, or he fit it in a tight window. This throws Surratt. That's not it. It's just whipped in there. It is crazy how fast he throws the football, and he's got good touch on it too. I mean, we talked about it last week against Old Dominion. There was a play that he had, I believe, to Surratt as well, down the near sideline that he had, where he shows off great touch on his throws. But when he cocks back and just fires that shit in there, damn, you better not get in the way because you're going to get hurt. And he comes in at number 5. And he's also a good athlete. He put up 20 yards in the game as well. Good athlete. Like, he's a very good quarterback. He's just a very good quarterback. And number 4, I do have Arch. I still have Arch kicking around here. I almost didn't put him in here because I'm just watching this game. I'm just more and more convinced that he's not coming out. I don't even think he was that bad. It wasn't terrible, but there's just certain moments you look at and go, yeah, you need another year. You need another year. And it's crazy that he's older than John Mateer, which is kind of weird to think about, but he's just not there yet. And you can go like, well, he's older than John Mateer. I mean, by like a week or so. It's not that much of a difference. But he's not really played. John Mateer, regardless if it's at Washington State or Idaho State, he has experience playing. He does know what to look for to a certain extent, not to the same level of opponents, but he still has that experience. Arch Manning doesn't have that. Like, he's only been in for, 9 quarters, I think is what it was prior to. Like, and he started 2 games against, who was it? Mississippi State and UL Monroe last season. Like, he started 2 games. We saw him in the game against Georgia for a little bit. We saw him knocked out in the game against Ohio State, I believe it was. But he's just not, he hasn't played any football in his first game of the season against Ohio State, who's the reigning national champion. Yes, replaces players on defense, but replacing players on defense for Ohio State's a little bit different than replacing players on defense for somebody like, I don't know, Kennesaw State. Like, it's a little different. If you have a star player on defense at Kennesaw State, you're not replacing him. If you have a star player at Ohio State, congratulations, you might have somebody even better than him on your bench. Like, it just happens. It just happens. But Manning in this game, he had 4 passing touchdowns, and he had an 83-yard passing touchdown. That was it was a good play. It was a good play. Is it highlight worthy? No. It's a play that you look at and go, okay, he hit Livingston for a nice touchdown. That's about it. You don't hyperanalyze it and go like, oh my God, this is the greatest throw of all time. No, it's like statistically 19 of 30, 295, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, had a rushing touchdown as well. The rushing touchdown was very good as well. And Arch Manning's got really good athleticism. But that interception, that's the play where I'm talking about, where it's like, yeah, you probably need to stay. You probably need to stay. And that's fine. That's not anything like, that's not some damning indictment on Arch as a football player. That's not that at all, because I think Arch Manning can make a lot of throws that not a lot of their quarterbacks can make. But he rides the running back a little bit, and he steps up in the pocket. Wait, no. That was a really good throw they had. Which throw am I talking about? Nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry, I've got my stuff all flipped around right now. What am I doing? I'm so confused with what I've got going on right now. Do I have the play? Is this the interception? This has to be it. Nope, that's not it. That's another good play. Where the hell is the interception that he had? I have it somewhere. Is it this one? Oh, yeah, it is. I found it. Don't worry. So this is 51 seconds in the second quarter. Takes a snap. There's an unblocked San Jose State player coming off the edge. Unblocked. Offensive linemen are all blocked up. This guy comes off the edge. Running back's not over there, which you could talk about that also being recognition from Arch on getting the running back over to that side. Because we see quarterbacks switch running backs from side to side all the time. So maybe you could also say that's a problem there. But Manning gets pressured, and instead of throwing it out of bounds or throwing it at the running back's feet, who's running out for a route at this point now, he tries to toss it up to the front pylon to double coverage, and it's easily picked off. Like, not even a problem. And that's the play where you're looking at, like, if you had another year of experience, you're not making that play. You're not trying to force the issue there. Like, defender's all in his face, jumping in his face, and he still tries to make the throw. And it's just not a smart play. It's just not. And maybe he develops enough the rest of the season to where you can go like, okay, yes, I could see you coming out this year, but that's a play you look at and go, yeah, I don't think you're there yet. I don't. But again, he can make some really good throws. He had a 42-yard pass to Parker Livingston. That was a really good throw down the sideline. He does a very good job at stepping up in the pocket later in the game in the fourth quarter and driving the ball. There was a couple back-to-back plays. He had one 22-yard pass to, let me see if I can find it, 22-yard pass to Jordan Washington and Emory Winston. He had for 33 yards in the very next play where the defensive line just crashes around him. And the 33-yard pass, he's able to step up and hit an open Winston for the 33-yard gain. But the throw that he had to Washington, he steps up in the pocket, and this is what we talk about again, being calm in the pocket, strikes it across the middle to Washington, who's able to pick up 22 yards. Those are the kind of throws you want to see more of. You don't want to see the plays where he's forcing the issue a little bit, because that's what you kind of get into. If you're this highly touted guy, you're going to be forcing the issue a little too much. And yes, his stats were good. I mean, 4 touchdowns, 295, that's good stuff. 5 total touchdowns in the game, but it's just, he's not there. He's not there yet. And I could see him again coming out this year possibly, but maybe teams really like him and love his potential, because I do think he's got an insanely high ceiling. But right now, he's just got to go back. He's got to go back. That's my final verdict on it at this point. That's obviously subject to change, but that's at this point. Number 3, I have Drew Aller. Dropped him down a couple spots. He went 19 of 33, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He just didn't look himself, I guess you could say. Like, he had one touchdown pass that was down the field. I can't remember who it was too, but he threw a ball down the near sideline, about 40-something yard touchdown pass. And I saw people talking about it on social media. It was more of a credit to the wide receiver on the play than a great throw from Aller. Like, Aller got it there, yeah, but the receiver made a very, very good play on the ball to come down with that. And I just didn't think he was that. Like, he started the game. What was his stats to start? He was 1 of 5 to kick things off in this game. And this is a game that we talked about before. You win 34-0. It didn't really feel like a 34-0 game. It really didn't feel like that. And Aller, it just wasn't a good game. It wasn't a good. I'm not sitting here going like it was a bad game or anything. I could have more than justified keeping it at number 1, but he just looked off. I don't know what it was. He just wasn't making the same throws with the same confidence in the same spots that we saw against Nevada. Like, I think he's the most physically gifted quarterback in this draft class. I've said that 1,000 times. I think the size, the arm strength, that's all there. It's just a matter of being consistent. Like, consistency is key in everything. And this game, I just didn't think he had that, so I had him drop down 3 spots. Number 2, another physically gifted quarterback, Lenore Sellers. This is a game against South Carolina State where he statistically, 11 to 19, 128, touchdown, also had 23 yards on the ground, no interceptions. That's always big. Sellers, the big thing last year was turning the ball over. Not like he didn't have a insane amount of, insane clip of interceptions, but the fumbles were a big problem for him. Taking some unnecessary sacks was a big problem. We saw that a little bit last week against Virginia Tech. This week against South Carolina State, you're playing a bad team, or a team, not a bad team, but a team that you should be comfortably beating. And Sellers made some good plays throughout the course of the game, as you would expect, because Sellers is a playmaker. Sellers is, again, one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in all of college football. If we're talking about from a athletic standpoint, Lenore Sellers is the most physically gifted quarterback in college football right now. But he's getting better. It's still a work in progress, but he's getting better at remaining calm in the pocket and not shuffling his feet, but stuttering his feet in the pocket. Because if your feet are stuttering, what's going on in your mind? That's the whole process there as well. And Sellers is getting better at doing that. And you look at some of the throws that he's making, some confident throws, defender in his face, hitting Nick Harbor down the sideline. He can make all the throws on the football field. It's just a matter of consistency. And that's why he comes in at number 2. I could have realistically put him at number 1, but Nussmeier against Louisiana Tech, another in-state game, 26-41, 237, 1 touchdown, 1 pick in the game, which the pick, I got to try to remember where the interception was, because the interception happened a little bit later in the game, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but hold on. I'm trying to make sure I'm dotting my... Oh, yeah. He short-armed it. He just short-armed it. Plain and simple, he just absolutely short-armed it. 1st and 10, first drive of the game, tossed it down the field. Receivers got 3 or 4 yards of separation on his defender. He just short-arms it. That's it. And it deflects off the first defender and lands the arms of the other defender. It's simple as that. Just flat out short-armed it. He had him, but like we've talked about 1,000 times in the show before, I don't know if people realize how far of a throw going from near hash to sideline is, especially when like the receiver is, when he lets the ball go, the receiver is at the 49-yard line. He's letting the ball go from the 27. Like and he's throwing beyond that. So it's a far throw. Like when he lets the ball go, the receiver's 25 yards on the field. Now we have to take into account how far he is to the outside. It's just a hard throw, and he short-armed it. Not a good throw from him. But as we've talked about before, Nussmeier is from a mind standpoint, and this comes from the fact that his dad's a coach in the NFL and has been in the NFL before, he's the most pro-ready in regards to processing. I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft class that even comes close to comparing like his processing and how he's able to throw people open and how anticipatory he can be when he's throwing the football. Like you look at his first touchdown pass in the game. Like he's stepping up to his left. He's looking to his right or to his left, flips back to his right and splits the gap between a couple of South Carolina State or Louisiana Tech defenders, to get it to the end zone. Like, there's not a lot of quarterbacks that can make those types of decisions. That's why I was praising Sawyer Robertson about doing that, about knowing where your defenders are and where your receivers are supposed to be and throwing it to those spots. Like, you look at this play in the second quarter. The ball is snapped, and he's looking to the left. He sees a Louisiana Tech defender coming through the offensive line. We see it happening. He slowly works his progressions now. Now he's going to the slot, to the underneath receiver, before firing it to the guy on the outside who's deeper down the field, because that's the smartest spot to put the ball. And he just puts it where the receiver is. He puts it on the body of the receiver. He's just putting it on him. And that's, again, the processing that we're talking about. The noticing that the defender is in the area. The noticing the defender is going to come through untouched. So you got to know where your receivers are, because that's what's going to get you the bigger gains. You're not going to take unnecessary hits. And Nussmeier, comparatively to like Sellers or Mateer or Levitt, like he's not that same athlete in regards to running the football. So you have to be elite when it comes to processing. Otherwise, you're going to take so many unnecessary sacks. If you're not a great athlete, or not a great athlete's a bad term, but like if you're not a plus athlete, like some of these elite freaks we see at the position now, like Lamar and Jane Daniels and like people that can run around and do stuff, you've got to process and be anticipatory to know where your spots are. Otherwise, again, you're going to take bad sacks. And he does not do that. And he throws people open. And you look at this play later in the fourth quarter on 3rd and 11. He's backpedaling to his left. And he throws it back. Well, he's backpedaling to that side for a nice gain on 3rd and 11. Like, he's the guy in regards to processing. He's the guy in regards to anticipatory throws and big throws. Like he did get away with an interception later in the game, like in the fourth quarter, like the 13-minute mark or something like that. He did get away with an interception. It went through the arms of the defender, and I don't know how the receiver caught it, but it did. So that's all that really matters. But yeah, that's the top 10 for this week 2, and I might change it by the time this blog post comes out. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But honorable mention section: Rocco Becht, Taylon Green, Eli Holstein, Nico Iamaleava, and Dante Moore. Then we go to the top 10. We have Sam Levitt at 10 from Arizona State, and he will be taking on, let's see, they're taking Texas State this weekend. We have Carson Beck coming at number 9. They take on South Florida, so that'll be a really fun matchup for Miami in that one, especially being at home. Then we got Sawyer Robertson coming at number 8. They're taking on Samford, a little bit different opponent than what they've been playing the first 2 weeks of the season. Then at number 7, you got John Mateer playing at Temple this weekend, so that'll be a fun one. Going to Temple, like big schools going to these smaller schools is always funny to me. They will be playing at Lincoln Financial Field, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, that's a strange one there. But You got number 6, Cade Klubnik going up against Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech, so that'll be interesting for them. They beat Miami at Georgia Tech last year. So, hey, crazier things have happened. We got Indiana taking on Indiana State. That game's on Friday. And Fernando Mendoza, comes in at number 5. Number 4 is Arch Manning. Got Texas taking on UTEP this weekend. This might be the last week Arch is in here. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But number 3, you got Drew Aller, and Penn State takes on Villanova. Number 2, we got Lenore Sellers. Him in South Carolina take on Vanderbilt. That'll be a really fun one. And number 1 is Garrett Nussmeier, and him and LSU will be taking on Florida. The third-ranked LSU Tigers will be taking on the Florida Gators. Man, oh man, it's so fun.